If you've seen people hitting crazy shots, moving around at supersonic speeds, and flying while spinning with incredible control, you might think not only how are they doing that, but also what buttons they are pressing for doing those things. I'll tell you something. Almost all of those players aren't using default controls, and the ones that do use claw grip. So, if you also want to have the best control settings in Rocket League, keep watching because we are going straight into it. Starting from the top, we got steering and aerial sensitivity. For the sense, people use anything between 1.0 and 2.0, but getting something like 1.3 to 1.4 is what feels better for me. Now, let's talk about dead zones. First, controller dead zone. The higher this value, you'll have to move more the joystick away from the center to actually register any input from it. So, the lower the better. Or is it the better? Many controllers have some kind of drift or jitter on their joysticks, so just raising it a bit might fix that. I use a 0.10 controller dead zone. Dot's dead zone is a very personal one. I've seen people using 0.2 and some others using 0.8. With a lower dot dead zone, you can use a flip without moving the joystick too much from the center. And with a higher value, you'll have to pull the stick all the way to the side do you want to flip to. What's important about this is that when we want to fast aerial, we want to double jump, but we don't want to backflip instead. And when we want to use any flip, we want to actually flip instead of double jumping. So, in my opinion, the best decision is setting this up right in the middle, at 0.5, and tweaking it a bit depending on what you feel you fail more, fast aerials or flips. I use 0.55. I'm going just to disable controller vibration and leave Vulcan mode as toggle. These last two settings are for KBM players, so it doesn't really matter for us. Just so you know, this is only for people that have normal grip on controller. If you use claw grip, these are some settings that might work for you, but I can't really give you any tips since I don't know what works best for that grip. Also, keep in mind that all this advice I'm going to give you comes from my own experience playing Rocket League. I've been through many stages when it comes on which controller I use, how I hold it, which keybinds I got, and I have to say that I finally found the way that is best both for my hand and fingers health and for raising my skill ceiling and improving mechanically as a player. Let's start by acknowledging that there are too many buttons that we can use with our thumb, and that isn't even the problem. The problem is that it might happen that we have to use 3 of those inputs at the same time. Keeping jab on cross is the choice I feel is the most logical. There will be lots of situations where we have to boost and jump at the same time, for example doing fast aerials. So I'm going to bind boost to R1 and leave that out of the way already. In the default settings we have power slide bound to square. Let's also clear square and move it to a more suitable button. The option that is more used by most of the players is binding it to L1. There's another input that I like having on L1, that is A roll, which is bound to L2 by default. I'm going to change it to L1 as well. Having power slide and air roll in the same button makes doing some mechanics like wave dashes way easier. Now that we clear square and circle, you should notice that there are 2 inputs that aren't even bound to any button. These are arrow left and arrow right. For a new player, these inputs might not seem useful at first glance, but I assure you that they will be very useful once you get better at the game. Tornado spins and stalls use these inputs, and we can use them for doing half flips too. Many players also prefer air rolling with this instead of normal air roll for doing aerials, because the spin that the car does on itself is a bit faster and they give you more possibilities on the air. I got arrow left bound to circle and arrow right bound to square, but you can do the opposite, it doesn't really matter. We have to take into account that there are 2 other inputs that also use R1 and L1, scoreboard and reset shot. You can bind scoreboard and reset shot to L3 or to any button in the directional pad. And this is all the control setting changes you really need to just get out the most of Rocket League. If you still have any doubt or want to ask me why I chose a specific bind or what keybinds I used in the past, don't be shy and do it live on my tweets. Also, you can join my community on Discord. You'll find all the links down in the description. Finally, if you need to change your camera settings or you want to know which are the best video settings for the game, be sure to check out the 2 videos that will appear in the screen. Thank you so much for your time and see you soon!